DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
It's time for Tuesday Night Live Chat with Brian S. Red and John Young. There, it went. That was probably the slowest segue. I mean, I thought it was like going to be right on schedule, and I was going to be like this, and then it was like, oh, it's not there yet. And it was,
it's all timing.
Yeah, it is. It is. And now I feel like we've started this show kind of on a wrong foot, and now it's going to be. Maybe we should start over again.
One more time.
Okay, wait a second. Get the game face on. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night with Brian Red and John Young. That's right. We're here. We're going to talk about important things, and we don't even know what those are yet.
Well, John has a list of things.
I do have a list of things we're going to talk about tonight, and then we'll go from there after we are done. But tonight we're going to be talking about downtimes. There's different downtimes within our businesses, within our week, within our shows and performances, and we're just going to go through. We got this kind of laundry list of downtime opportunities, and how, from Brian's experience and my experience, some ideas of how you would utilize that downtime. There are some things that are considered downtime in the DJ realm that may not be downtime. So our whole show tonight is about downtime. Yeah.
I don't have much of that.
Well,
because I've occupied most of that time, those time segments with something.
And that's what we're going to talk about, what we occupied those with. So the list of these, if you want to follow along, is in the description of the video. So you guys can go get that. We're just going to kind of go right on down that list, and we're going to make this, keep that to that half an hour of this part of the show. So most of us that are watching this are going to be wedding DJs. If you're not a wedding DJ, you're going to have to assume you are for this part of the game. If you're not, and you're going to be like, well, I'm a club DJ, and we're not talking you. We're talking mobile DJs who work on weekends. So the first one, during the week, if you are a full-time DJ, or you're predominantly the DJ, or you might have a job that you do during the day that is outside of the industry, but you're going to have time during the week when you're not performing. And there's a times to do something and still work on your business. For those who are just kind of getting into this, Brian, what would you be using these like evenings during the week to do to get yourself ready or to be more successful in your business?
Well, just getting into it, I actually shot a video that I haven't uploaded. But if you're just getting into this, chances are you just bought a whole bunch of equipment. And a lot of that stuff is new. Some of it's used. I mean, who knows which route you went. And you have computers, perhaps, and programs and things of that nature. One thing that I really haven't talked a lot about on my channel anyway, and I have a little video on it. I don't know how happy I am with this, why I haven't uploaded it. But bench testing is very important to do with any new equipment that you get in, just to make sure it's functioning properly. And I think some people might say to themselves, yeah, but I bought product A and it's got a really good reputation, so I'm not really too worried about it. I'm going to take it out of the box and assume it's going to work just fine at my event.
Right.
No, nothing, absolutely nothing is 100% fail-proof off the shelf. Now, a good company will test things in the factory, then they'll test it at the warehouse, and then they'll ship it to you. And that's quality control. They're trying to make sure that you're getting a good product being shipped to your door. However, things can happen in shipping.
Oh, certainly.
And It could be anything from a temperature issue. It could be a mishandling of a package. We don't know. But I think it's very important to just make sure that, especially your new stuff out of the box, is working and functioning properly. So you don't go to your event and, this doesn't work like I thought it was going to, or why is it doing this and not that? A lot of times this could be an issue where you can simply call a customer helpline. If you've bought a reputable product with customer support.
Yes.
And you have that option. It might be what they call a user error, not necessarily mechanical failure, but we've done something wrong, or we didn't know that you had to push this button to make that happen, kind of thing. They can help you with that. On the other hand, it might be mechanical malfunction. And in that case, they may or may not be aware of the issue, but they can help make it right. So bench testing,
good.
I think is a very, very good thing to do on your downtime. And I know I'm rattling.
No, but that was good.
Letting John talk it all here. I got a light that's been on back here for 2 days. It's an ADJ product. I've got no reason to think that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm just giving it an endurance test.
That's exactly.
I can.
And I've done the same thing. What I'm going to throw out for the week, and there's lots of things you could do the week, but we just kind of throw out maybe one or two in those areas. The week of an event, I like to, because we've got set up on the other side. We've got 2 different spots to practice. And I know, like, if I'm doing a wedding, I know I'm going to be doing this and that, but there's just some mixes, and there's maybe a new song that I've heard recently that I think, I'd like to, or I've gotten a client's list and there's some songs in there. It's like, I wonder if this could mix into that. And it's just spend an hour or two, getting your music list put together and practicing playing some of these and mixing some of these songs and hitting it. And it's like, maybe I could hit this spot and I could maybe mix these 2 songs, or I could maybe overlay the 2 songs and do a beat matcher or something to that effect. Practicing, I think, is something as a mobile DJ that we tend to overlook, and it's really kind of a critical component to be successful in your business.
Well, practicing anything. This could be practicing performance. This could be practicing mixing. It could also be practicing things like setup. And I think a lot of people neglect that too. I know I do.
Oh, certainly.
Because, look, I've got a setup that works, but every week there's that thing that I look at and I think to myself, I can make this easier. I can make this easier. And that thought comes in my head and it just disappears. I don't execute it. I don't take it into the dungeon, set it up, and try the new thing that might be easier. Sometimes let's just do a dry run and setup. Let's put it all together and let's see how this goes. Did we miss a step? Is there a step we can eliminate? Is there a product that we could purchase that would make this particular step easier or eliminate this process altogether? It's going to save you time. And anything that's easier for me is a good thing. I'm all about the easy, really. I'm not about making it hard. It's got to be easier or I can't do it. So that's a thought. Anything, evaluating what you do, be it performance, be it equipment, be it anything, I think it's a good thing.
Let's move on to the next one. Geez, I'm going to throw things here. So the day before the event, now we have our Saturday wedding. Again, we're kind of looking at it from the wedding mobile DJ side of it. The day before the event, what would be something that would be you would commonly do the night before? Obviously, you've already bench tested your gear because you don't want to be doing that and finding out it's not working. What would be that evening before? There's really not much going on. I'm not at the practice. What's something that's kind of on your itinerary there?
Well, there are 2 different ways that I could go with this. I could say this is when you make sure that there's no weird update on your computer or anything that you have to worry about as far as startup or shutdown goes. So turn your computer on and off several times, check for updates. Typically when you get to, or when I get to an event anyway, I'm not online anymore. So there's no chance of some update downloading at an event. I don't like that. So I know you can turn the updates off, but I like to leave them on. But anyway, make sure the computer's cool. Make sure if there is an update, everything's working properly. This is also when I'm doing last minute music updates, especially if I'm doing something other than a wedding, where I know I'm going to need the latest and greatest track. If something just came out and it's hot, I want to make sure I have it. So my promo only or my Topics USA or my prime cuts or my full tilt remix, I've got them, and I got them backed up too. That's one thing you can do. You could also load. And that might sound funny to some of you, but for a guy like me, loading the day before is absolutely crucial because I need to conserve all of my energy for my performance. And if I can eliminate an entire load in of a vehicle, that's going to save a lot of energy for me.
Sure.
But when I get up, everything's set. I have all my timeline stuff set or my paperwork set for the event. All I have to do is have some coffee, zen out a little bit, and get cleaned up and hit the road.
The load inside, because my truck is behind me here in heated air conditioned shed. Thursday's my load the gear day. That way, I'm not having to worry about it when I get within 24 hours, and I find I sleep better that way. That's just
I think you're right. That's how it should be done.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I feel like that the day before a gig should be a nothing day.
Yeah.
You should have everything done before that. And like I had said earlier, I could go two different directions with this. All the stuff I mentioned really ideally could be done the day, 2 days before your event.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can chill a little bit. And you're not in a rush.
Probably the biggest thing, though, that I still like to do the day before, besides having kind of a chill day, is I like to take, if I'm doing introductions of a wedding party, or if I'm going to be doing something with unusual names, the couple have an unusual last name, I want to take anywhere from a half an hour to an hour to utilize their names in different fictitious announcements, basically to be pretending I'm introducing the wedding party and doing that. And if I have music beds I'm going to be using to do these things on Friday, to practice that and practice it multiple times. I mean, generally somewhere between 5 and 10 times I'm going to go through that wedding party introduction. And I know the weddings I don't go through and do that, I can just, it feels like a completely different night and day, type difference on the quality of the introductions. I'm kind of stumbling on names. I'm seeing the phonetic spelling, and I'm not thinking about that's an instead of an a sound at the end, because that's how they have it. It's not a Duvier, it's a Duvier type of a situation. Little things like that. Practicing the day before on my vocal side of it is a big thing. So,
do you ever do consolidation practice with your public speaking? And what I mean by that is, I really prefer, I mean, this is casual conversation with John every week, but when I'm doing videos, I'm editing my videos, I'm editing my speech in my videos. I don't want to say the same thing over and over again too many times. When I'm just improvising, sometimes I end up doing it, and I can go into the video I shot and I can actually cut out repetitiveness. I try to do the same thing with my microphone work when I'm presenting or when I'm doing my MC stuff, because I don't want to have to talk on the microphone any more than I have to. I need to make the announcements that are necessary and then just shut up and let the music do the talking. I don't want to be that guy that just won't shut up, So I'm always trying to consolidate what I say. Even if I can eliminate a couple words from it, it just flows nicer. It sounds more professional. Sometimes I can write it down and then say it out loud to see if it makes sense. Or write down exactly what I say, then look at it and say, okay, that's wordy. How can we consolidate that? I do that.
And I definitely see what you're saying with that. And I find that when I'm on a microphone in front of a crowd, it isn't the same conversation as we're having here. Or even like last week, I was shot 50, 60, 70 videos a day, Thursday and Friday. And you find after you're doing these product videos, you start using some of the same little things here and there. And you guys have all watched my videos and you know exactly what I'm talking about, because that's
like a tick.
It just becomes that because you're into this mode. Boom, we're just knocking these things out left and right. Those things, when I've gotten in front of an audience at a wedding, it's a different world. And now I'm making specific announcements to do specific things. And I'm not adding a lot of that homespun character at that moment, because it's more of maybe a formal introduction. Now, a little bit later, when we're doing something where the best man has done something funny and I can build off that or work it, might be a little different story. But the formality of the event seems to help, in my world, avoid some of those things. But
it's the simplest things with me.
Yeah.
Jim and Sally would now like to have everyone come out and join them on the dance floor. Okay. Jim and Sally would like everyone to come out and join them on the dance floor. Is that better? I think so. It's a little shorter. I only eliminated a couple words, but it made a difference.
Certainly.
It flowed nicer. And although it appears that I'm improving on the microphone, I'm not. I've actually calculated what I wanted to say. And if I do it repetitively, then those are the kind of things that are going to come out of my mouth when I'm doing microphone work, opposed to the lengthy, wordy thing with things in there that don't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's editing myself, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to
I
describe
like it. I don't know. It's just something that I do.
Yeah. Let's continue on. The next kind of downtime is we've got the gear loaded, we're ready to go, but we've got like 3 hours before we need to leave the day of an event. What are some of the things that you find yourself doing during that time frame?
Oh man, if that's what I got, man, I just like to chill. I mean, if I've got everything together, I just want to. I could review. I could stare at the truck and say, okay, and I walk myself through the setup, because sometimes, week to week, the setup's a little different, or the equipment's changed, because I get a lot of equipment in that I want to test down the road. So I go through the whole thing. Okay, table gets set up, speakers get set up, mixer goes on table. Okay, we have all those things. Now we need cables to hook it all together. There are the cables. We need a laptop. Okay, that's in the truck. And we need lights. Okay, there they are. We need cables for the lights. Okay, there are the cables for the lights. I could drive myself crazy with this, but I try not to. By the time everything's loaded and I've already, done my initial check, it's nice to chill. It's really nice to chill. And especially in the summer months when it can get very humid here in Wisconsin, I don't want to be doing too much running around. I want to kind of stay still and relax. If I've gotten cleaned up, I don't need to break a sweat before I need to.
Yep.
So I don't know.
This is probably one of the areas that I struggle the most. I almost prefer the get up, get showered and throw the bags in the car and make my sandwiches and out the door I go. Because if there's that lull in time, it's like, okay, I either want it to be long enough where maybe I don't need to leave for another 4 or 5 hours, so I can go
take a nap.
Take a nap. Exactly.
Right?
Or I want it to be tight enough where I don't have a lot of things, because I don't want to go get in a project, I'm going to go out and mow the lawn. Sure, that's not going to happen.
No.
I'm not going to go work around the house. And then, of course, Lori's out doing her things and working on this, and the kids are out doing whatever, and it's like, I feel guilty. I'm not spending time with the kids. I'm not helping, around the house or anything like that. Basically, I'm just kind of putting in my time. This, of all, from a personal standpoint, is the time that I struggle with, the morning of an event, of how to do it and not.
Right. So we're on the same page there. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So that one we have absolutely no advice or thoughts for, except that it's frustrating.
Time it right.
So let's move on. We've gotten to the venue. We're now set up, and there's this lull of time from the time we finish setting up until the guests arrive. And you could have 15 minutes to, and there have been times I've had nearly an hour. What's that time like in your world?
Well, I had something similar to that on Friday when I did the school dance. I had about an hour and a half.
Okay.
I was there way too early and I was set up. So I went in the truck and I shot a little vlog and uploaded it on YouTube, whatever. But when I came back in, I was really just kind of anticipating the evening. I was thinking to myself, how is this going to go? And I started making almost a playlist. And I don't normally do that. I normally DJ on the fly. But I thought, if I start with this and then I go to this, and I think I did my first half hour, like right there, just anticipating how it could go.
Sure.
Because I didn't want to jump in right away with a great song, because with these school dances, they trickle in right when it's time to go. It's not like they all enter the room a half hour beforehand and something else is happening and then boom, you go. It's almost like club work. You're waiting on them to come in before you actually get started. So you got to, do your like 15-minute buffer filler music and then do your kind of official opener. And, so I was anticipating all of this and kind of making the playlist. That's how I spent my time. And I think I also roamed around a little bit, found out where the bathroom was.
Yeah.
Where can I get a drink if I need it? It's Halloween party. Is there candy available? I love candy. So that's how I spent my time.
And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the kind of doing the last minute preparing of the music and picking some of the songs, especially at high school dances. There's going to be songs that, as I'm kind of thinking about it, and it's like, wait, and I throughout the week I'll have a running list of songs that I'll make on my notes, and hey, I should make sure I play this song, or this could go over well Saturday. So that becomes that time. It's like, okay, I can listen to that song, and what feels right tonight to go with this song, because what felt right on Wednesday may not feel right on Saturday, type of a thing. So that's probably, that time. And if it's a wedding, I'm going to go and set up a really cool, take that 70s playlist, and it's like, I'm going to move some things around and do that. There's another Huey Lewis song. Okay, move some more things around. Oh, here's another Huey Lewis song. Move some more
Their kids love around. That power of love.
Oh my gosh, how could you ever get sick of that? I'm just saying. Okay, so at a wedding, now the guests are arriving, and how we handle the cocktail time, it has changed for me over the years, and we can set that aside for now. But that cocktail time for some DJs is kind of a downtime because they're putting it on and then just letting it go. And there's other things that could be done during your cocktail time when the guests are arriving before the meal has started. How do you handle that? As far as, are you mixing, or is it kind of a ambient music time for you?
I think, when it's showtime, regardless of as to whether or not it's cocktail or if it's dinner or the dancing part, I'm very much being a voyeur. I'm watching these people and seeing how they're responding, or if they're responding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could conceivably play just about anything during your cocktail time, and if you're at the right volume, you may not get a response one way or the other. But you know what you always do somehow? So you're even subconsciously setting the mood somehow. Because if you go too down tempo, the energy level of the whole room is going to come down.
Oh, it crashes.
Even if they're not particularly listening or into what you're playing, if you keep it up tempo, the general vibe can go up. And also, maybe you throw something in there that they weren't expecting, and maybe they weren't paying attention. But when something changes in a set, and I've said this, a lot of DJs are into beat mixing. We got to start at this BPM, we got to end at this, we got to beat mix the whole night. I am not that guy, because you never rattle them, and you need to rattle them to get them to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the same repetitive beat for 6 hours, there's no reason for them to say, oh, something changed, because nothing ever changes. However, if you are playing Frank Sinatra and then you throw on an LMFAO song, something changed, and they're going to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm going way off here, but in cocktail, it's the same thing.
Right.
I've done this thing for a long time where cocktail and dinner both, I'll play the general fare, and then I'll throw on Richard Cheese, Baby Got Back. Now, 90% of the room isn't even paying attention. There's that one girl or that one guy who hears it like, oh my God, he's playing Baby Got Back. And they start laughing, and they're telling their friends about it. Their friends like, no, of course he isn't. And then, no, listen. That whole conversation's happening. And then you look at them and you say, somebody's paying attention. And they laugh and they give you the thumbs up, and they're your friends all night long. So I'm always engaging. I'm always being a voyeur. I'm always paying attention, no matter what, even if it's seemingly a very just mellow part of the evening where some say you could have an iPod do the job. I'm watching.
Yeah, I think making those observations, mixing music, and kind of playing around a little bit and sampling what could be possible and what might work better, especially with some of those 30 to 50-year-old guests. Sometimes they can be a very wide taste in music. There's some like country, some like 80s is their thing, some like whatever. So,
right.
During that cocktail time, some of you may throw in a disc and let that go, because during that time you're trying to get things arranged with the venue, and you're trying to get the wedding party where they need to be, and getting all these different, talking to the photographer and getting your schedules all set, because this is the first time you've seen some of these vendors.
Yeah,
I get that, and that's cool.
There's an element of that always.
There's always there's those things that are part of what we do, and as much as we like to plan in advance and we like to communicate with people, sometimes you don't communicate or see them until the day of.
Also, kind of the preliminary sound check. I mean, if I'm in the same room that I'm going to be doing, dinner and dancing in for cocktails, I'll walk around the room and say, okay, it's full now. what does it sound like? Now that we have bodies in here,
Mm-hmm.
do I need to make an adjustment to my GQ or to my volume or what? Or even my speaker positions? Because then you can kind of get a general idea of what it might be for the rest of the night. Walk around the room. Where's your hot spot? Where is it cool? Where's conversation areas? Are they where you want them to be? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Subwoofer adjustment, whatever.
Okay, so let's move on. During the dinner time, we've gone through and we've done the whatever we're doing at the wedding party, if we did something to that effect, but now they're sitting down and eating. Do you continue to do your mixing during that time, or do you kind of scale it back during that time?
You go first.
Okay. For the dinner time, I will go and I will pick probably about 6 or 7 songs that I'm going to do that first 20 minutes or so, maybe half hour. And that's going to be an auto-mix set that I put together. It will be a mix of those 70 songs, but it's going to be something I specifically picked for that time that is not going to be high enough energy. It's going to be kind of that mellow, but it's going to be kind of that, maybe a little toe tapping. The reason I do this is because that's, in a sense, a downtime where they're eating, they're making noise, and they're not going to be paying attention much to the music. And during that time, I'm going to be making sure that whether, how the venue, and if they need me to do something with tables to be released as they're going along, or if there's something that, the head table communicating and saying, okay, we're going to be doing the toast at this time. And as I'm watching the tables, we need to be ready to go. When that table is the last one through the line, then we need to be ready to go here. And then to talk to the photographer and saying, okay, now what's going to happen is that there's going to be toast going. That first part of the dinner time is a time where, especially as someone who works by himself, is huge for making sure that we can make that dinner flow smoothly and moving on to getting them up and out of their seats. Once they're up and out of their seats and they're milling around and are talking and things after the head table activities are done, it doesn't feel like it's on my shoulders as much. But during that time when I'm kind of emceeing that dinner time, I need that kind of an intentional downtime of that 15 to 20 minutes to be able to make sure and get all these connections and make sure everyone's back on the same page. So that's how I look at that dinner time frame.
It's all good. That's what you should be doing. With me, I've got my grand entrance done and the toasts are done, and no, not the toast, but the probably the cake, maybe. And yeah, you got to get everybody served before toast. I try to do it that way, so if the toast goes long, it doesn't screw everything up. And I know that catering is dismissing tables or they're serving tables, so I'll go to catering and I'll say, please let me know when you're done. And they usually forget.
Yep.
But that's okay. I got to still pay attention. So they're eating. Dinner's being served. This is going to take a half hour, 40 minutes. And I know that. So what do you do? This is a captive audience at this point. They're sitting at their tables. They're having conversations. Either they've gotten their food or they're waiting on it. But they're not leaving their tables at this point. Mm-hmm. They've gotten their cocktail at the bar already. They're just sitting there. So this is a great opportunity for me to do something that I call the table rounds.
Yep.
And what I'll do is I'll pick a table and I'll walk up to them and I'll introduce myself. And I'll first, like, who are you? Are you interrupting us? I'm Brian, the DJ. Oh, hi. I was just wondering what you guys like for music. What do you like to dance to? And they're looking at me like I'm from outer space because no one's ever asked them that. A lot of people don't know. Well, I don't know. I have to think about it. I don't know. And some people have really strong opinions, and some people say, well, don't play any of this and don't play any of that. You get that too. But everybody knows your name now. And you've gotten a few ideas, just a few, not a lot. I never walk away with this like wealth of information about these people. What I do walk away from, what I do walk away with are nuggets. Aunt Betty likes Bee Gees. Mm-hmm. Stina loves her jam. I know that. So when I play that, I can point to her. I can even say, hey, Aunt Betty, this one's for you, or whatever. I can do that. I know that mom and dad, After 11 by Engelbert Humperdinck is their jam. It was their wedding song. I know this. These are the kind of things I walk away with. And when people walk up to me, they know they can approach me now. They know I'm not unapproachable. They know they can make requests. And when they come up to say, hey, Brian, and they ask their question, it's a lot more personal. And I like that.
Sure.
I don't like being anonymous at a gig. I don't want to be the center of attention, but I want people to know who I am and why I'm there and what I may be able to do, how I may be able to serve them. So that's what I spend that time doing.
Nice. A little bit of similarity, but a little bit of differences. That is awesome. The next one, during formalities, and I wanted to kind of break this down into a couple of different areas. because this is an area when I'm with training DJs that I would intentionally talk about during that downtime during a spotlight first dance. I mean, we put the song on, and what do you do? So I want to look at that, and then when we get into dollar dances, money dances, they still are out there and part of this, but obviously that's kind of a downtime. So let's back up to that first dance. One of my frustrations with DJs is that they would put the first dance and they would announce, this is going to be Bobby and Susie's first opportunity to dance together as husband and wife. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby and Susie's first dance, whatever it was. So now Bobby and Susie are out there and the room is all paying attention to them. And I would have DJs who would basically just sit there and stare at them the whole frickin' time. And it would absolutely drive me crazy to be seeing video of them. It's like, what are you doing? Well, we're not going to be bouncing around. We aren't going to do our woo-woo kind of a thing like you would. Yeah, but don't stand there and make it look like you're this thing from the Addams Family staring at them. So my talk to them was basically when they would start the first dance is to just step out of view if possible, or step certainly out of any potential picture angle where people would take a picture of the bride and groom and catch them, and go and step behind your speaker or step off to the side somewhere where you can be out of that moment so that the guests are really not seeing you too terribly much, so they can see the bride and groom. And that's pretty much the extent of it. And you're not being looked at as a glaring whatever. So that was
a really good suggestion.
Yeah, and that was such a frustration.
I have a suggestion for that.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, please.
And this has more to do with when you move on, because I think this is where a lot of people need work. So the dance is over, and if you're lucky, you get applause. Maybe there's a hug or something. And typically what I'm going to lead into next after the first dance is typically, and I didn't used to do it this way, excuse me, but I do it this way now, is the father-daughter dance. I know that's coming. Now, I take a lot, I've said this before, I've said it so many times, I really try to take my MC cues from stand-up comedy, and it's not that I'm trying to be funny, it's about timing.
Certainly.
So when the song is over, ideally when it's fading out, the applause builds.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a hug and something is happening. And what they tell comics is they'll say, okay, what if I tell this joke and the audience is laughing and they just won't stop laughing? Do I interrupt them?
Yep. Yeah.
Go on to the next joke? And they say, no, you never do that. You stay in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you told a joke like this, you freeze and you don't move. You don't say a word, and you write out that applause. As a DJ, you got to stay in that moment.
Good. That's a great piece of advice there. Yeah.
And when the applause, you can have another, I mean, it's got to be way down before you break it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will. I won't wait until it's dead silence.
Yeah.
But I'll anticipate when the applause is over, or when the hug is like coming to an end. And then I'll say, hey, Becky, where's your dad? And that's all I'll say. He'll come out and I'll play the song. That's it. I don't say, hey, this is the father-daughter dance. That's all I'll say. Hey, Becky, where's dad at? Everybody knows what's going on. It's kind of cool. And then dad comes out and the applause builds. So you play the song. But it's about that timing. And I think that that's something that a lot of DJs could use some help on. Some of you probably do great with it, but that's just my tip on that.
Good tip. Good idea. Jumping onto the money dance. For those of you who are not familiar with the dollar dance or money dance, it's very common in the Midwest and probably around the country, but it's a chance where people come out and they dance. There's two lines, one the bride line, one's the groom's line, and they dance. People come up in for $1. And there's some that do shots, and there's other variations of it. The concept, though, is that it's going to take anywhere from 3 to 8 songs to do, and it can be a 20-minute to a half-an-hour event. That's serious downtime because you can program this and you can basically let it go. For myself, as I have gotten older, this has become my time. As I think Mark mentioned, that sitting down behind the system, this has been my time to take that 10 minutes and get off my feet If I've been on my feet for, since I arrived at 4:00 to set up, and then we had 6:00 dinner, and now we're at 8:00 with the dance. It might be 9:00 when I finally get to the dollar dance. This might be the first time I've had a chance to sit down and take 10 minutes off. And I have found the shows that I have done that, it has really made it where my legs and things didn't feel as dead later in the night. It has helped tremendously. So that is one thing that for myself, taking that 10 minutes, and then you go to the bathroom, you can freshen up a little bit, and I'm not too far away in case there's something weird happens. But just to get a few little things out of the way, go and refresh my my water if I'm going to if I'm doing water, go grab a tea if I'm doing tea for the night, whatever, and utilize that time in that fashion. So that way, once the dollar dance is done, we're ready to get back into the dance, and I'm kind of refreshed and ready to go with them.
Somebody keeps messaging me. This is really driving me nuts. Hold on a second.
Yeah. It's not me.
Go away.
It's not me.
Go away, please. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I might. It's like, oh boy, somebody British who's up. What do they want? We'll find out.
Where? I'm not following on that one.
No, it's just the message I was getting.
Oh,
somebody was saying, "Hey, mate," and I just like somebody British is awake right now.
Oh, well, that's pretty.
It's like 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's like 6 hours time difference.
Late.
Okay,
that's a good suggestion.
So yeah, there's not much with that, but I just wanted to make sure throw that out.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the day after the event. There's obviously we've done our things, we get home and now we have the day after. What are some common things that you do on Sunday after the event?
Nothing. I don't do a goddamn thing the day after an event, man. I'm telling you right now. And I used to. I don't know if it was related to the event or not, but I used to. Oh, it's a day we can go shopping. We can go to IKEA today. We can no. Nothing.
Yeah.
I can avoid it. I sleep in. The thing is that see, whenever, and this has always been the case with me since I was young, when I do events, whether it was the skating rink when I was 13 or it was the school dance I did on Friday, I'm an adrenaline junkie with this stuff. I am so pumped up to do this event. I don't know where I'm getting the energy from, but I'm getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people talk about, well, I was so tired on the drive home. Nope. I was wide awake on the drive home because I was completely jacked up somehow. And I'm not guzzling coffee the whole time. I don't know what it is. It's something about just doing the event just gives me adrenaline. So you're driving home, you're wide awake. You get home, you're wide awake. I'm watching movies. I'm on Facebook. I'm just chilling. There's no time I have to go to bed. My daughter's 20 years old. I don't get to get up for kids. I'm not going to church in the morning. I'm gonna stay up and let myself slowly crash at my leisure, go to sleep, and get up when I feel like it. Now, if I'm doing a double header or a hat trick that weekend, well, that's different, but not too different. I'm already loaded. I should have already prepped for it. And I'll tend to try to get up before the event and then just get cleaned up and go.
Yeah. Trying to get as much sleep as possible.
You know?
Yeah. The day after the event, at one time it was a time of okay, I'm going to get the thank you notes all written and get things, get all the paperwork. Yeah, no. Sundays basically has become now the time to just get away from the whole concept as far as possible. So yeah, it's going to sleep in, probably go to church in the morning with basically the eye on the prize, which is an afternoon nap. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. It's just that time to spend, do some things with the kids a little bit, and especially if it's a beautiful day, we go out and play in the yard for a little while, and then take a kind of a restful day to recoup and recharge those batteries.
I never understood that Sunday day of rest thing. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad, on an easy week would work six days a week and was off Sunday. And so we went to church. And then when we came home, he was like a freaking carpenter or something. You know, he was building something or fixing something. It's like, what is this day of rest stuff? I never understood it. So as an adult, I take advantage of that when I can, especially if I've gigged Saturday. That is the day of rest.
Yeah.
You got to recoup. You got to take care of yourself. So that's just what I do.
So we're going to wrap things up in this little segment talking about downtimes and talking about specifically some things during the off season. Now, for those of us in the upper Midwest, wedding DJs, basically we're about up to that point of the year where you get to the week of Halloween, that last weekend in October. Generally, there's not much going on from there on because now we get into the hunting season here in November, and then you get into holiday parties. And yes, there's still a couple of weddings, but it really becomes kind of that off-season time. During that time of the year, Brian, what are a couple of things that you have done or you like to do during that time frame?
It's the mobile system really is, I look at it as a model year, like a car or anything else. I've got to design the new model year.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to figure out what's going to change. How is the system going to be different? Sometimes it's a radical change. Sometimes it's subtle, but there's a change and it's an improvement. So those are the things that I'm thinking about doing. And it's also a really good time to have a look at your website to see if it needs to be updated and to get together with your developers and figure out new graphics. I've done, and I haven't done it for a long time. I should probably maybe do it this season, but I've gotten headshots. That's when I get with my photographer do headshots because they're kind of down too.
Yeah.
It's a great time to do that. Kind of think about your marketing. Think about your your look in general for the next calendar year for your system and for yourself. And it's also a great time to kind of just see what everybody else is up to and reflect a little bit on what you've done and what you liked about what you did and what you didn't like about what you did. When we're busy, sometimes we like I said, I mean, I'm out at events sometimes and I got that I'm setting up and I'm looking at the particular thing and thinking, wow, this could be easier. This can't be too hard to figure out. And then you just block it out of your head. So, you know, again, that's when you bring your equipment indoors or into your home or garage or whatever you have available to you. Set it up, do the trial runs. Think about how you can improve things. That little thing that's been broken for a year and a half, fix it. You know? Yeah. You can do a show without it. You can do an event without it, but it'd be so nice if that clip wasn't broke.
Mm-hmm.
It would help. That knob that needed to be replaced on your Pro Event table, replace that thing.
Yep.
They fall off. And that's a nice thing to hang your cables from. There's all kinds of stuff you can do.
Yeah. One of the things I like to do, and I started this actually last week, is taking all of my totes out and basically sorting all the wires out. Because after a season of high school dances and weddings, and then this one I had to use, I needed a few more cables, especially if I've got help with me, cables get into totes they're not supposed to be in. So a lot of sorting and going through and just evaluating. Some of the wires, they get twisted a lot and you're like, oh, maybe it's time to replace. Sorting, evaluating gear, replacing gear. Then, as you say, looking at what is next year going to look like for gear. That's huge because now it's the time to do it so you can have a game plan so you're not buying it a month ahead of time and wondering, gosh, is this going to work well for what I want it to do? I'm not comfortable with it. Yeah. So many.
I will say this, John. I learned a new trick this year on how to use downtime. I haven't done it as an adult, but I'm doing it now. And that's taking time for yourself. I haven't taken any time for myself since I started YouTube. I know I haven't. Everything's been about the video. Everything's been about social media. Everything's been about answering questions or helping somebody. You know, look, I'm doing this record thing. You know, I do it on and off. It's taking time. I'm being very meticulous with it, but I'm still working on it. I'm getting somewhere. Now, when I complete that record thing, which could be a great winter project, I can actually enjoy them. I can listen to them. Also been working on a car, something that has nothing to do with DJing. Although I may try to hustle some car shows. I thought I could put a couple Maui 5 Go's in the trunk with a tablet, a table, and go to a car show and DJ at the same time, make a couple bucks. But just doing stuff for me, doing stuff I want to do. It's really good, believe it or not, to walk away once in a while.
Something we all need to do more of. I'm thinking to a point, because you get so wound up and caught up in everything that sometimes
we're just so close to it. It's almost like they said, you can't see the forest for the trees. You have to get out and walk away from it and forget about it for a minute. Then turn around and look at it again, and you're going to see things much more clear. I do anyway. So if you've got a hobby, indulge in it. Enjoy yourself. Take some time for your family too. They miss you. You've been busy.
Yeah.
So that's like really the best nugget I think I can offer anybody out here is take some time for you and your family, and take some time for your hobby, and step away from it. Just get away from it. If you got nothing to do, if you've done everything, walk away and just enjoy. Because what's the point if you don't enjoy yourself?
There you are. I don't think we could end this on a better note than that, Brian. That was wonderful. Thank you.
I tried.
And thank you guys for being with us tonight. We will be back again, let's see, next week. I think we're good for a few weeks actually now as we go into the fall. So we'll be back again next Tuesday night with our regular show. And I think at the end of, where's Halloween's on Wednesday night?
Yeah, and by the way,
yeah,
I have a wedding on Halloween night.
Oh. On a
yeah,
that'll be fun to hear.
I could save it for next week, or I could tell you a little something.
Let's save it for next week. Let's talk about it. We're going to put a bow on this one, because we did a really nice job. We kept tight on this one.
Good. This is really good.
We'll talk about that next week. So, gang, thank you very much for being with us. We'll catch you next time. Good night.